Hi everybody, welcome to the Azure On Air podcast. Today I'm joined by Rohitha from the Logic App product team. Really great to have you on the podcast.
It's great to be here, Mike.
Thank you. So we're at the Integrate Summit this week, and currently we had a load of scheduled podcasts, but I couldn't help myself. I'm just grabbing a few people who I think are really interesting, and just grab them and pull them in the podcast room to have a chat with them. So we always have really good discussions the last few years in the speaker room or in the breakout areas, and I couldn't resist grabbing you in because I think everybody would really love to hear some of your history with Logic Apps and some of the insights that I think you've given me over the years. So I really wanted to just pick your brain about a few things. Would you like to just begin with, just tell us a little bit about your role and your background with Microsoft, please?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been with Microsoft over 16 years now. I started right after grad school, and I've been with the workflow orchestration space for quite a bit of time, and I was part of the original, I don't know if you remember, WF4. I was part of that team. When we shipped, I think, .NET framework for OS is when it shipped it. And then that became a multi-tenant service when we sort of like moved from shipping framework, box software to cloud services. And it powered SharePoint workflow service. And then I spent a couple of years doing some of the other services thing. And before joining the Logic Apps team, back in 2015, 2016, before it was even GA'd. So I was part of that original small team, like who sort of brought it up as a service. And since then, been with the Logic Apps team. So mainly owning the runtime, Logic App runtime, and I have like leading a bunch of engineers.
It's all the hard work we don't really appreciate behind the scenes because we see the fancy shiny stuff at the top. That's why I want to chat to you. See.
So it's been a fun ride. Like so, growing from something very small to now like powering lots of big things.
So I guess the really big question that I'm sure the audience would want to know about is. So you're running. I think we had stats earlier this week. I think it was something crazy like 2.5 billion or something actions per month or something like that. So what's it like running an integration platform for many customers at that kind of scale behind the scenes? Because we just take that for granted that we use it. But tell me what goes on behind the scenes.
So we started Logic. I give a bit of history on how we started Logic App and where it is now. So we started Logic App as a multi-tenant service, and Logic App consumption it's still a multi-tenant service. So we have a Logic App service running every regions where there is a Microsoft or the Azure offering, right? And one thing with Logic App consumption is it kind of abstract everything from you, right? You as a user go create your workflows, you have a bunch of connectors available. And not just like the customers, there are so many other internal services that run on top of Logic App, like Power Automate or Azure Data Factory. So we are, depending on the regions, we could have millions and millions of workflows getting created and running every single day. So there are lots of things that's happening from an operational point of view, and also like making sure things scale. And then one other thing with Logic App is they could be running like different type of workloads, and sometimes you might get a workload all of a sudden like millions of runs spiking up, and we need to make sure like when that happens we have the right scaling capabilities to add the necessary resources and scale up, and at the same time, like consumption being a multi-tenant service, we need to make sure like noisy neighbors and put in place all the throttling limits. We have matured a lot like since the early days, and like, generally what we have is a horizontally scalable architecture. So if you think a logic app is one unit, like you can run some number of, there's a capacity to run some number of like executions.
Yeah.
So we have a platform where we can actually horizontally scale. And some regions we have like 2 units of scale units of this architecture.
Yeah.
And in some regions we have hundreds. And so, and then like especially one other issue with logic app consumption, since we abstract everything, unlike logic app standard, like for storage, for example, right? So, and given logic app is very stateful, durable, we make so many storage transactions. So how do we scale, right? So like when you get this big spike, so we need to have sometimes pre-provisioned
Got you.
other resources to be able to.
So I guess that's one of the things we don't see always is the dependencies between services under the hood.
Yeah. So like, and then the compute is the other one, right? So like, in a single. So basically, what we have is in a given region we have, depending on the load, we have this horizontally scalable, like the units that we run. We have like a number of storage accounts, a number of compute instances, and we have the ability to like absorb certain workload that comes in.
Yeah.
And if they go beyond, like let's say sometimes like a given hour, we might get 4 times what we were running, right? So then we need to be able to scale. And for example, storage, if you scale the storage transaction, then they start throttling us.
Yeah.
Right? And then if we get a load where we need more compute instances, we might run out of capacity. So we have to think all of that and ensure, hey, we pre-plan, hey, this is a region that can absorb this much of capacity, and this is a region that require pre-provision. So we do all this capacity planning constantly to make sure we have enough buffer to abstract or absorb the load that is coming in. At the same time, the other operational aspect, how to deploy, right? Like, so we typically release new features every 2 weeks, right? So we don't keep them around for a long time. Most of the features, once a developer checks in things, they reach its production within 2 to 3 weeks.
Got you.
Right? And how do we make sure that we do that in a safe way and in a reliable way, so they get rolled out without breaking our customers?
So how do you feel then, if we sort of pivot slightly from kind of your side managing the runtime? When I do Logic Apps standard, obviously I've got a lot more control than I would have had in consumption. So kind of some of the tuning knobs for things like the storage and the runtime code on my side, does that make your life easier or more difficult, or what's your thoughts on how customers should think about that?
So to give a bit of sort of a history around how we arrive at doing Logic App standard, as I said earlier, right? We started with Logic App consumption, and we ran it for several years.
Yeah.
And one of the feedback we got from folks who are using Logic App standard is that it's more like a SaaS, but like people want more control, like the ability to, like, they want it to be more like code, right? Like you're developing a microservice or any enterprise, and being able to do CI/CD, local development, and have more control, like, and then the whole platform was evolving, right? The more capabilities around security, like the VNets, and things like managed identity coming along. So people want all of these enterprise capabilities, and what we realized was the consumption was we're abstracting too much. And lots of these things are black box, and one, if we are to sort of surface all the other platform capabilities, then we had to do every single thing, right, on top of, like, because we're abstracting everything. And so, and then with that, we realized, hey, we need to find a way to sort of, find a platform where we can simply sit on top of the platform and surface all these platform capabilities to the customers, starting from the developer tool chain, right? So that's where we ended up deciding, hey, we need something like app service as the platform, where we lay a Logic app on top of it, right? So like that's where Logic App Standard is essentially a web app. And we rely on Azure Function for scaling and even the tool chain, right? So like if you basically developing your Logic app locally, we're starting a function host and running Logic app as an extension. We get lots of things there, right? Not just being able to run Logic app, but also like the whole developer tool chain, right? They like the function core tools is already shipping, so we're just adding the Logic app extension. We get everything just run, right? And the same thing on the platform side, on the cloud side too, right? So the function already has a way. It's sitting on a platform that does networking, VNet. It does like other platform capabilities like manage identity and all these like things related to, for example, SSL traffic termination, load balancing, scaling, all of that the platform provide and Logic app became. So that was the decision, like, and what we did was essentially took the runtime that we were running at scale and put it on top of, so the orchestration engine, everything just works the same way, but like running on a different host. And now, coming back to your question, I think from a product team point of view, now since customers own lots of things, storage, take storage for example. Storage is a huge pain when you're running the multi-tenant service because now we have to scale storage to be able to like handle these spiky loads that comes up. But when you're using Logic App Standard, we give you the means to be able to scale, right? We tell you, hey, like, you need to have like n number of storage accounts if you're doing this load. Now, like customers, depending on how much load their workflows needs to handle, they can decide, oh, I can do with one storage account, or I need like, we have seen customers who have like 10, 15 storage accounts because they get this. We kind of transfer the problem to the customers, but that's again a good thing because they want that control, right?
So it's really giving them the ability to tune it how it fits their needs. I think it's really, for me, it's really interesting. We've got the choice of the abstraction level we want. So if we want, just Microsoft to do as much as possible for us, consumption gives us that great model. And then if we need to kind of build more of it ourselves, we can tune it to fit our very custom
Exactly. And then also the other benefit is sitting on top of the app service platform. And it's not something new, right? Like many customers already know how to do networking, for example, right? And they know how to do like zip deployment. So it fits into, and also like one thing we have found with many enterprise customers, they need to go through this process internally to get onboarded into a new service, for example. An app service is one of the most common ones, right? Like in Azure. So like sitting on top of that, like is a no-brainer. Like, so like to get customers these capabilities, enterprise capabilities, but at the same time, like get all the value prop Logic App was giving, right? All these, the orchestration ability, low code, no code. So they all just got transferred.
I think it really, for me, the way I see the direction you guys are moving about democratizing integration is really interesting because democratization doesn't just have to be about make it simpler so less experienced developers can do more, can also be putting it in the ecosystem developers are used to. So things like this week where we talk about the code-based workflows, like you're saying there, you've described how we're in the app service environment, loads of developers are really comfortable there anyway. You throw the code experience in and actually you're giving like a web developer more ability to do integration in a way that would work, leveraging everything Logic App brings to the table, but also in the way they're used to building stuff, which is really cool.
So the thinking has been like, we want the customers to learn very little as much as possible, right? So like it's the learning curve, like if you're introducing something new, like take Codeful, for example. How do we minimize what they have to learn, right? So the durable function was
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer because people already know how to do durable functions, rather than introducing yet another language like, hey, you do durable function and then bring our capabilities on top of it, right? And that's kind of the thinking, like from a platform capability point of view, that's also like the programming model capabilities. We see it as a platform, like Logic App really as a platform, both from a building and the development point of view, and also as a like the cloud service point of view.
So as we touch on some of the new stuff then, so all of the AI type things we're talking about this week, AI agent being probably one of the bigger ones. How does that affect your team in terms of the behind the scenes magic that goes on? Is there any key things you've had to adapt to be able to accommodate some of these new types of features?
Yeah, that's a good question. So one thing we looked at is the AI, some of the agentic sort of the thinking in building application. One key disruption that's happening is the need for somebody to go and stitch things together manually. It's like we are in the orchestration business, right? And today, if you take Logic App, you have to actually step by step specify what the Logic App needs to do one step after another, right? And we saw like with the agentic capabilities, that need is going away. So there is this AI, the models being able to do a number of things, right? One, make decision based on the current state and the new event come in, and also take into account the other factors like knowledge. So that need for doing this step-by-step stitching by a developer is going away, right? Especially like orchestration is heavily used in automation scenarios. And that need is going away. So we kind of look at it, hey, this is core to our business today. What Logic App does is at the core of it is an orchestration engine. And how orchestration is done is going to be changed, right? So that's kind of the thinking for us. And then at the same time, we have lots of building blocks that's going to be super useful to do this, like the orchestration. So that's one thinking, like if we don't do this, like, and in a couple of years' time, less and less people is going to be doing this drag and drop, stitch one after the other. Many people are going to like just write a prompt, throw a bunch of tools, and then the AI is doing the orchestration, right? So we needed to sort of adapt, like it's our business and our value prop that we provide is actually changing. So we needed to adapt. So like from our point of view, we saw this both as an opportunity, like we have a whole bunch of things already in our platform that we can use. That was one, an opportunity. The other one is if we don't do this, like our value prop is actually like going away, right? So we needed to, it's more of a...
the interesting thing when I think of like customer discussions over the years, in line with what you're saying there, was customers always had this like North Star vision of a really dynamic business process driven orchestration engine that was dynamic and flexible, and they didn't need a developer to write it all kind of thing. But I think if we think of the AI agent becoming an intelligent orchestration that can really evolve as it's trained, and the Logic App integration piece has just become the plug-in model for it, then we move significantly towards that, don't we? Which was always a challenge.
I think it does two things. One, it actually enables a whole bunch of new scenarios. And also at the same time, it actually makes it easier to build some of the things you've already been doing, right? So it is not going to be that hard to build like some of the orchestration you're doing. And if you want to redo it again, you would do it with AI versus like if it took like, in my view, like something that took days, you just throw agent loop and a bunch of tools, like you get it working in 1 hour, 2 hours. And so it's that easy. So there's both this, and at the same time, it's also bringing a whole bunch of new scenarios, use cases.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So I think we're about at time there. Thank you very, very much for joining us on the podcast. I really appreciate that. And I hope I've enjoyed this conversation, so I'm sure the audience out there will love to know just a bit about what's going on under the hood for the Logic App team, and hopefully we'll get you back next year for another one.
Yeah, this is my third year, and it's great to be back at Integrate, and it's always a community who are working on Integrate, and great to chat with them and get sort of a close understanding, feedback from them.
Do you feel, quick last cheeky question, do you feel like you get a lot of value from the people in the audience here helping you guys like figure out what's, what you need to do behind the scenes?
Like I'll tell you, like, for example, like the first year I think I attended Integrate was 3-4 years back. One of the biggest I heard that time was how not so good our developer experience was, like the local development experience was, and we took that feedback very seriously, and then you might see the difference in the developer experience and what you can do in VS Code now 3 years ago to now, right? So there is so much progress we have made, and so like this is one place we actually get close of feedback from the customers. So they definitely get indirectly fed into the team.
Great.
And then our plans,
It's really great to hear that. We give you guys loads of value back in exchange for the things you teach us when you're here, so I appreciate that.
Thank you so much for having me.